Welcome to Microsoft Partner Secrets, where we uncover and explore what top Microsoft partners do to grow faster than their competition. Here's your host, Per, Microsoft Advisory Board member and the 5-term worldwide president of the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners.
Welcome everyone to Microsoft Partner Secrets podcast. And with me today, I have the pleasure having Redha Morsli, CEO of FSI Strategies out of Washington, D.C. Welcome, Redha.
Hello. Hi, Per. Thank you for having me today. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. So, FSI Strategies, what do you do at FSI Strategies?
Well, FSI, at our core, we are a managed service provider. We've been helping customers leverage technology to work better and more securely for 23 years now. Can you believe that? It seems like a very long time.
Wow.
We at our core, that's what we do. We help customers deploy, manage, and maintain their information technology stack. But at our core, really what it is that we do and the value that we provide is we really help them transform their technology from a cost center into a strategic growth engine.
Terrific. And 2003, if I calculate correctly, did you start out as doing managed services, or did you start out doing something slightly different?
We were one of the very early providers to do managed services. So we did some project-based work. We actually worked with the federal government a little bit in the early days. As a matter of fact, little side story, FSI Strategies stands for Fed Solutions, Inc., which used to be our name. Obviously a very government-oriented name. But as we started to work with more and more commercial customers, non-government customers, we saw that the adoption of our managed services was really going up quite nicely and quite quickly. And so we made a strategic decision, I think around 2009, to no longer do work with federal government and only focus on managed services. So our backbone has always been technology, and it's always been helping customers make the most out of the strategic value of technology, which is, by the way, why we have the word strategy in our name. It's in our DNA. Managed services are very, very early on, in the very early days of managed services, where you have to actually explain to people what managed services are. So yeah, we've been doing this for quite a while now.
And it sounds like you have shifted from selling to the government to having non-profits as a large group of customers. Am I right?
That's right. Today, nonprofit customers represent roughly about 85% of our customer base. I think what started off really early on as just the benefit, if you will, of living in the Washington, D.C. area, where you have a lot of nonprofits that are headquartered, quickly became something that we really enjoyed doing. I think you've had the pleasure of meeting my business partner, Nabil. I think that Nabil and myself are very community oriented. And so one of the things that we love is to run FSI as a business, but also feel it like a mission, if you will, right? And that's something that's really important to us. So we identify a lot with nonprofits, and I think that when we look at the work that we do with nonprofits, I mean, this is really a scenario where technology is extremely important for an industry that keeps on being tasked with doing more with less.
Yeah, because if they save $1 in administration, that is $1 that they can use for their cause.
100%, and I think also what we're seeing is a clear trend over the last decade almost, where funding is going down at all levels. You have a decrease in funding from personal donations, corporate donations. You have federal programs that have seen a significant change over the last several years. And this really results in nonprofits having a really challenging time with fundraising. But of course, as you know, the demand for their services is at an all-time high. So on one side, you have funding going down. On the other, you have the demand for services skyrocketing. Something's got to give. And I view technology as a great enabler or a great helper to help these nonprofits accelerate their mission and to really enhance their impact.
And always when I meet successful partners, they are specialized on a certain customer segment. And it looks like you are like the kings and queens of serving non-profits, which is probably an underserved sector, by the way.
It is, it is. We do work with commercial customers as well, but like I said, the big chunk is by far nonprofit organizations, and it's wonderful. I mean, working with people that are so mission oriented, it can be challenging at times, obviously, because I think their natural instinct is to allocate as much of that funding dollar to mission delivery. But when you make clear examples and clear cases that, hey, technology is an enabler and multiplier of your output, then you've got really good customers that understand the strategic value of technology. And that's really what it's all about.
And how did you end up with non-profits being your sweet spot? Was it by accident that you found one first customer? And
yeah, I think what started off as just having our headquarters in downtown DC, we were surrounded by nonprofits. And so as we were working both with commercial clients and government clients, we had a bunch of nonprofits asking us to help them. They saw the kind of work that we would do for other organizations, and they wanted help. They wanted to give their employees the ability to work at that time from any device securely, anytime, anywhere. And the technology that we were working on back in those days really help these organizations do that. And we're talking about obviously way before COVID, right? So it just became its own path of least resistance, if you will, right?
Beautiful. And what are you serving those nonprofits with? What are your flagship offerings?
Look, the flagship offering that we have is a managed service called Total Care. And as its name would imply, it really allows us to manage and maintain the entire technology spectrum for our customers, right? Both from user support to strategic planning, as well as the implementation of new technology, and of course, cybersecurity services. That Total Care is really our flagship service, right? This is really a service designed to help these nonprofits really transform their technology from something that is traditionally, when we first start working with them, it's discombobulated. You've got a fractured system, not integrated, very inefficient, and we help them transform that into a really lean, mean machine and a strategic growth engine for them. And that's something that is really, really valuable for nonprofits, especially these days.
And you also keep them evergreen, if I'm right.
Correct. So at the core of our Total Care managed service is the strategy component. And why the strategy? Because for you to keep on utilizing the strategic value of technology, you really have to have modernization at your core, right? And so our service was designed to do something that I call modernization as a service, right? To really help our customers not just modernize, but also to stay modern. And we do that by the continuous service improvement, the continuous strategic planning that we do, strategic business reviews that we have with them. And of course, it also starts off with a client architecture that we build in the background, an ideal profile, if you will, an ideal technology profile or technology framework that we've developed over the years, a platform, if you will, that we bring our customers onto. So Total Care is very much so a purpose-driven managed services. And that purpose is to go beyond just your traditional support of users and maintenance and management of systems to really have modernization at the core of it. So this is why sometimes I like to say that we are a different kind of MSP. I think we are an MSP that has evolved. And today I like to call ourselves a modernization strategy partner.
And that means that your customers avoid those super big projects every third or fourth year.
Correct. That's a huge cost savings for them from one perspective. But it also, a lot of times when we work with customers, they don't have the bandwidth or the skill sets to really think about how they should be adopting technology, right? The strategic component behind the use of technology is something that is really hard to achieve, especially in this day and age when technology changes so fast. It's hard to stay on top of what's new, what's relevant, and what really drives the best outcomes for nonprofits or commercial customers. And it's almost a full-time, and it's a full-time job in itself. And we've developed, by developing a platform, a Microsoft-centric platform, we've really created the processes to make sure that we maintain and manage that platform over time, and that we let it evolve as new technology comes to bear, especially today. Things like Copilot, right? Things like helping customers become frontier organizations. That's really been keeping us busy, and a very good example of how to continuously stay evergreen.
Yeah, and it's switching to Copilot. I understand that Copilot has been phenomenal for you and for your customers' well-being, because it really helps them save those hours that can now be spent on the course instead of basic administration.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what we're seeing today with Copilot is that Copilot has really matured beyond AI as an assistant, right? Where right now we have a platform and not just a tool that allows us to go and have AI that executes work for you, but also in a very governed and predictable and secure manner, which is extremely important, especially for nonprofits that typically work with stakeholders that are in critical situations, and governance has to be at the heart of that. So this is why Copilot's been really helpful for us, both as an enabler of output for these nonprofits, which of course they're always looking for that digital labor, if you will, but also in a way that does it in a secured, governed manner, which is really unique. No other AI tool really has that governance component to it, because really what you're doing is you are introducing AI into your existing governance, security, and compliance protocols, as opposed to having to bring an AI tool and build all that around a new tool that you have. So Copilot has indeed been keeping us busy. And I got to say also that Copilot of today is very different than Copilot of last year. It works incredibly well. And together, I mean, holistically, it's a platform, right? And it's just the value that it provides. And I think the fact that you can use Copilot today with known large language models that everybody uses, such as ChatGPT and Claude, has been extremely beneficial. I think that in itself has changed the equation for our customers. A lot of customers that were using Claude or wanted to use Claude, when they figured out, or when we showed them that, hey, you know what, you can use Copilot today, securely access your data in a governed manner, and still benefit from the power of Claude and ChatGPT, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And I guess that your dedication and your knowledge to Copilot and for serving nonprofits might be something that Microsoft really pays attention to, because you have a strategic relationship with Microsoft, I understand, that goes way beyond the formal partner program.
Absolutely. You know, that's at the very core of what we've been able to do at our success, is making sure that we have that strategic alignment with Microsoft. And when I mean strategic, not just in terms of the products and services that we support and manage, it goes well beyond that. You know, we made a decision in 2014, and I actually remember this quite clearly. I believe it was March 27th, 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the first. Satya Nadella gave his first briefing as the new CEO of Microsoft, and during that speech, he introduced the concept of mobile-first, cloud-first companies. And when we were listening to this, I was very fortunate to be able to listen to that briefing. And when I heard that, I quickly saw there was such a huge alignment between what we wanted for our customers and Satya Nadella's vision at Microsoft. Because, you know, even in those early days, as I mentioned earlier, we were really helping our customers trying to work remotely from any device, anytime, securely. And so we quickly made a decision in 2014 to align our entire company with Microsoft, to the point where we actually changed our mission. Our mission evolved into what it is today, which is to help customers work better and more securely with Microsoft technology. And so, as you can imagine, everything that we do touches or works around Microsoft. Our entire managed services aims to deploy and manage that full Microsoft cloud stack. I mentioned previously that we developed a platform for our customers. We call that the FSI Platform of Success. What that is just the entire Microsoft cloud stack, everything from modern work to infrastructure to security, data and AI. We focus on all that. We really zoom in on that, simplify our strategy for our customers, and that's the purpose-built managed services that we bring to our customers. So when we start working with customers, with nonprofits, and even commercial clients, really our goal is to put them on that Microsoft modernization journey and to keep them modern, right? So we keep on evolving that platform. Like, for example, today, we've introduced an AI or a Copilot component to it, what we call Workforce Accelerator, and that really helps our customers implement and leverage the real value of Copilot, not just as an AI that assists, but accelerating workflows so that you can accelerate an entire workforce in your organization to really amplify impact and reach.
So something that I hear between the lines is that because you are in the recurring revenue business, customer satisfaction is key for making your customers stay forever. And that's why you need to be innovative and always prioritizing the customer's well-being first, because then they will never leave and tell others how happy they are.
Yeah, correct. If you help your customers work better and more securely, then you're going to help them grow, and you're going to help them achieve their mission. And if you're able to do that, you are going to be an advisor for them, and you're always going to be there, right? So what we strive to do with our relationship with our customers is to be that advisor. And I think one of the best things to do is to just keep on top of these new developments, these new progress. We live in a world right now where things change so quickly. You probably know this better than anybody else, Per. But I mean, it is the rate at which we see technology advancements is really striking. So it's extremely important for us to just stay evergreen and to help our customers stay evergreen. So yeah, staying on top of it, attending all these Microsoft conferences is really important. We just had one of our key staff members. He's a Microsoft MVP. He was just at Microsoft Build. Came back with an entire portfolio of action items and news items that we look internally, we assess. They just announced the release of Microsoft Scout. We've been using Microsoft Cowork for quite a while. And what we do is we understand it, we use it internally first and understand the best way to introduce that into the platform that we have for our customers, right? So for example, Copilot, it's not just about taking Copilot and saying, hey, Mr. Customer, here you go, here's Copilot, have fun with it. It's about understanding how you can drive adoption. It's about understanding how you can identify work and workflow items that can be accelerated with Copilot as we shift from Copilot that assists, that Copilot that does work for you. So it's really about making sure that you have an approach with it, that you have a service, a managed service for it, so that you can deploy it to your customers in a smooth manner, and of course in a manner that shows output, which is really important.
And also in a secure manner, so that they avoid reading the wrong data, confidential or just old data.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%. That's part of it. The service that we have with Copilot, that AI Workforce Accelerator, has 3 phases in it, right? The first phase is really focusing on acquiring the licenses, deploying Copilot to all your users, training them, and focusing on AI governance, which is really the data security component to it, the compliance component to it, and making sure that Copilot usage is safe so that we can scale it without any regret. That's really kind of the phase 1. The second phase is we start looking at how companies work, and we start identifying key work and workflow items that we can transform with Copilot and build Copilot agents around that to facilitate the operations for that nonprofit or for that commercial client. And the third phase is really about the ongoing governance and management and optimization of those agents.
And I understand that you are customer zero. You are using the same technologies yourself so that you can understand it, so that you make use of it, and that makes you more trustworthy to your customers.
100%. And it goes back to this notion of, it's not just about understanding the technology, it's understanding how you can position it and deploy it to your customers in a way that makes sense to them. And to be customer zero is essential to doing that. You have to, as my old CTO used to say, we have to eat our own dog food, right? Yes. Which is really important. And so doing that is what we do. And of course, what does that mean? That means really being in tune with the Microsoft community. That means going to conferences. That means a lot of stuff. We are actually on the Microsoft TAP programs for a couple of, with Teams and Copilot. TAP is Technology Advancement Program, where we are under NDA with Microsoft to do early testing and validation of products and services. right? So that really allows us to get a good idea of where the technology is going 6 months to almost 12 months before it becomes public. And that really feeds well into our need to stay evergreen ourselves.
Yeah, and you touched it a little bit, but from what I see, it looks like you are very generous, opening up doors to fellow partners. You are not shy telling the customer that this partner is specialized on this, and you should go with that partner for that particular thing.
Yeah.
I know your co-founder Nabil very well, and it seems like all his work is opening up doors for others. What a generous person.
100%. I think this is what it means to be mission driven. So if our mission is to help organizations out there work better, more securely, it's an entire industry that has to move forward to do that. And we were extremely early as a managed service provider, working with Microsoft and trying to get Microsoft's attention. Like I said, in the early days, you had to explain what managed services was. This is not the case today, but it can be a little bit challenging at times to work with Microsoft, big company, big partner, huge partner ecosystem. How can a managed service provider actually work with Microsoft? And the reality is that when you leverage the Microsoft ecosystem, when you leverage that Microsoft partnership, it really can have tremendous benefits to both your managed services and to your customers. And say, yeah, there is a lot of education that we are doing out there for our fellow MSPs to understand how you can leverage that Microsoft cloud stack, because it can be a very daunting task. It's a big ecosystem. Where do you begin? What do you do? How do you sustain it? How do you navigate the ups and downs? Because there will be ups and downs. How do you do that? And how do you keep on having progress? And I think also more importantly is how can you responsibly allocate research and development dollars so that and you're on top of all these Microsoft changes. It's not cheap to go to these conferences and to test products, to allocate engineering time, to build systems inside. And by the way, we run entirely on Microsoft, like you mentioned. Everything from Dynamics to Azure to Copilot to Teams, you name it. We are entirely on that Microsoft cloud stack, and allocating engineering resources to do that, and professional development. And of course, by the way, something really important for partners to do when they work with Microsoft is invest in your employees, invest in your teams, promote a culture of not a culture of know-it-all, but a culture of learn-it-all. And the best way to do that, these Microsoft certifications are incredible, is encourage your employees to get certifications, to maintain certifications. It's really important as a partner, both in the quality of service that you deliver, but also in an understanding on how you can fully leverage that Microsoft cloud stack to build a model for your customers and to stay fresh on that. It's really important.
And it's also a way to retain talent. If you don't invest in your people, well, someone else will. So it's better that you do it.
It is a double-edged sword, I will say, because there's a lot of talent that we've developed that became so talented that they've gone to work for Microsoft and other great companies. But I view that as a good thing, right? Because we are, like I said, we firm believers that we have to move an entire industry forward, an entire community forward. And when these types of things happen, then that is a sign that you're doing it correctly. So very important.
Beautiful. Yeah. So any final advice for fellow Microsoft partners, how they should become more successful?
Well, success is in the eye of the beholder. I think it's right now it's still under judgment at FSI. We'll see how time will judge us in terms of success. But we've done some great things with Microsoft.
You're very modest. You're very modest.
At the heart of that is just being persistent, right? Being persistent and having clarity. By clarity, I mean, if you're going to commit to Microsoft, leverage as much as that cloud as possible. Leverage as much of that platform as possible. I know it's very tempting as a managed service provider to be the best of, the best in breed type approach where you have this platform for this and that platform for that. And that's really hard to manage. And that's really hard to build a strategy around. And so being focused and working with Microsoft on that platform and consolidating as much as possible is really important. Like I said, is also sometimes you have to invest in the development of your staff. The reality is that those are all expenses, but at the same token, Microsoft today, and it's been a couple of years in the making, they're looking at the managed services industry today, and very special. They're seeing
Yeah.
move an entire industry forward, and what they're seeing is a tight relationship with customers, advisors that can push Copilot consumption in a ethical manner. So these are all things that are really important to Microsoft, and so Microsoft at the same time is also is understanding how can they work with managed providers. So my advice is that it's early, it's still very much so early in the game in that relationship with Microsoft and managed service providers. Participate in that community as much as possible. Attend calls, go to conferences, meet people, and stay on top of the new technology developments. That is my recommendation. And I think the most important recommendation is stay the course. You know, being a managed service provider is not easy to start with. Being a managed service provider that focuses on Microsoft can be a little bit more challenging because of just the rapid developments, and it's also a big partner ecosystem. So how do you differentiate yourself? But stay the course. I think the best way to differentiate yourself is to keep getting clients and to keep those customers happy and modernized. You do that, you're going to be visible inside Microsoft, and great things come from being visible at Microsoft.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So thank you,
Yeah.
Redha. This was a wonderful conversation. And thank you so much for making the time, telling our listeners how to swing it if you want to be a successful Microsoft partner. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you for joining us today. Join us again next time as we explore more secrets of successful Microsoft partners. And if you're selling Azure subscriptions, be sure to check out the easiest and fastest way to increase revenue and margin on those subscriptions, the Idenxt partnership. We enable you to offer managed Azure services to your customers with zero operational burden for you. To learn more, go to idenxt.com. That's IDENXT.com.